Lesson 62, Jehoahaz and Joash, 2 Kings 13. So again, we're jumping back to Israel. Okay? So you've got, obviously, a question there about Jehu. God promised him 4 generations if he obeyed, didn't worship Baal. So they're going to, we'll start going through his generations here. So 2 Kings chapter 13, lesson 62, Jehoahaz and Jehoash. I'll begin the reading there. Chapter 13. In the 23 year of Joash, the son of Ahaziah, king of Judah, Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, began to reign over Israel in Samaria, and reigned 17 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, and followed the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, which made Israel to sin. He departed not therefrom. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he delivered them into the hand of Hazael, king of Syria, and into the hand of Benhadad, the son of Hazael, all their days. And Jehoahaz besought the Lord, and the Lord hearkened unto him, for he saw the oppression of Israel, because the king of Syria oppressed them. And the Lord gave Israel a Savior, so that they went out from under the hand of the Syrians. The children of Israel dwelt in their tents as before time. Nevertheless, they departed not from the sins of the house of Jeroboam, who made Israel sin, but walked therein, and there remained the grove also in Samaria. Neither did he leave the people of Jehoahaz to Jehoahaz, but 50 horsemen, and 10 chariots, and 10,000 footmen. For the king of Syria had destroyed them, and had made them like the dust by threshing. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoahaz, and all that he did, and his might, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? And Jehoahaz slept with his fathers, and they buried him in Samaria, and Joash his son reigned in his stead. So, we first get the rule of Jehoahaz. It says he reigned for 17 years there. We see that. He died during the reign of Joash, even though Joash is dead in Judah, and that's where he ended up. We're kind of going a little bit back in time, and his reign actually ends during the time of Joash, king of Judah. So he's he's the second generation after Jehu. So Jehu was first, Jehoahaz, his son, becomes that second generation, because they had killed off Ahab, and because they had killed off, or did not worship Baal. That doesn't mean that they weren't idol worshipers. They worshipped at Dan and Bethel at those golden calves and many other gods. Okay? There was still idolatry and still golden calves in all of Israel that Jeroboam had put there. So that idol worship was not gone either. So God, because of the idol worship, God sends Hazael, king of Syria, and Benhadad, his son, to come to Israel with some armies. You see, they have been slowly chipping away. The Lord is here towards the end of Israel. He's going to slowly start giving away bits and pieces of the land of Israel. And that is happening at this time. Hazael and Benhadad are slowly chipping away bits and pieces of Israel. Okay? He's taking them away, those bits and pieces. But, we also read there that they destroyed the army of Israel. They're left with only 50 horsemen, only 10 chariots, and 10,000 foot soldiers. We remember how many thousands of chariots there had been back in the days of Solomon, and now it's dwindled all the way to just 10 here in Israel. 10 chariots. They're being slowly destroyed and chipped away. So what does Jehoahaz do? He does something. He's the only king of Israel that ever does this, that we read of in the Bible. And that is, he prays to the Lord for help. Okay? He's the only one mentioned. Now maybe others did, but in the Bible, he's the only one that's mentioned as having prayed to the Lord for help in Israel's time of need. Okay? The people were in trouble. The land was falling apart. And he did it out of desperation. He was, in a sense, desperate. He would do anything. And he really didn't love the Lord. He didn't love the worship of the Lord. He didn't restore the worship of the Lord. But in his mind, well, I've done everything else. I've prayed to every other idol. I've worshipped every other. Now maybe I need to pray to God. And he prayed to God. And even this unrighteous man praying to God, God heard the prayers because it was for the good of his people still in Israel that the Lord heard those prayers. So what does the Lord do? He's going to deliver them. He's going to deliver them from Syria through the work of the next two kings. Okay? And again, he didn't do this necessarily because Jehoahaz repented of all their sins, and everyone still did, but because it's not time for Israel to be destroyed yet. Israel needs to go on. The Lord has some more plans for Israel, so He doesn't want to wipe them out here just yet. Okay? They will be wiped out. They will be eventually destroyed, but the time is not come. We think of that cup of iniquity, cup of sin. And as that cup fills up and fills up and fills up, it's when it finally is all the way full. That's when the Lord comes and punishes and destroys. But He's not ready to do that yet. That cup of iniquity is not full with Israel. It's still filling up. So, we read that Jehoahaz, after those 17 years, he dies. He was wicked. And his son Jehoash becomes king. Let's pick that up there in verse 14. Skip to verse 14 of 2 Kings 13. Because we have a little bit of story here of Jehoash and Elisha. Now here, it's going to call him Joash. Okay, so it's a little bit confusing, but we call him Jehoash. Okay, but he's called Joash here. So don't get confused that this is not the Joash of Judah who is there. But verse 14. Now Elisha was fallen sick of his sickness, whereof he died. And Joash, the king of Israel, came down unto him and wept over his face and said, O my father, the chariot of Israel and the horsemen thereof. And Elisha said unto him, Take bow and arrows. And he took unto him bow and arrows. And he said to the king of Israel, Put thine hand upon the bow. And he put his hand upon it. And Elisha put his hand upon the king's hands. And he said, Open the window eastward. And he opened it. Then Elisha said, Shoot. And he shot. And he said, The arrow of the Lord's deliverance, and the arrow of deliverance from Syria. For thou shalt smite the Syrians in Aphek, till thou hast consumed them. And he said, Take the arrows. And he took them, and he said unto the king of Israel, Smite upon the ground. And he smote thrice, and stayed. And the man of God was wroth with him, and said, Thou shouldest have smitten 5 or 6 times. Then hadst thou smitten Syria, till thou hadst consumed it. Whereas now thou shalt smite Syria but thrice. So, you have a little bit of confusion there. It says Elijah got old, he got sick, and he died. And then we have a story of Elisha working with Jehoash. So you must understand that it's after this work with Jehoash that Elisha dies. But the Bible in its orderliness is telling us that, and then is telling us a little bit of the story here first. So, Elisha becomes sick. He's fallen of his sickness. And Jehoash knows that he should go to this prophet because this prophet is on his deathbed and has helped out Israel quite a bit. And King Jehoash also, just like his father, is in desperation. He's in despair. How can we get rid of this Syria? They are bothering us. They're slowly taking over our land. They're slowly taking away our riches. What can we do? Okay. Well, Elisha tells him, okay, God is your defender. Don't come to me. Don't think I'm the one that's going to save you. I'm the one that's going to rescue you. You have to know, Jehoash, God will deliver you. God is the deliverer. He has been your defender. He has been your judge over all of history. But Jehoash still doesn't believe and trust. He just doesn't trust in God. He probably wants something else, something physical he can see to trust in. And so he repeated his words of hopelessness and disbelief and just saying, how is it even possible? How are we going to win? Who's going to defend Israel now, Elisha, if you die? Who else will do it? And Elisha here teaches the last lesson of his life. He says to the king, Open the window that faces towards the east of this room, that faces towards Syria, and take this bow, and take these arrows, and place one in the bow, and shoot it out of the window. towards Syria. And so Jehoash does it. He shoots the arrow out of the window with Elisha's hands on him. And it was a sign, he says, now that is a sign of deliverance from the Lord from Syria. But now, what I want you to do is strike the ground with the rest of the arrows. So, I guess we can think of it two ways. You could grab the arrows and strike them with your hand, or you can shoot them out the window and continue to shoot. And every time one of those arrows strikes the ground. Either way you think of it, here's the problem for Jehoash. He doesn't trust in God. He doesn't even necessarily believe that there's a God. He's just doing this because he's desperate. So when you or I are asked to do something that we really don't believe in, something that, maybe you think, a better example would be, maybe you think something's babyish. Maybe you've gone somewhere with mom or dad, maybe to like a children's museum, and the lady is there, or the guy is there, and they're leading, all right, kids, let's do this and that, right? Let's pull the magic. And you guys are like, right? You roll your eyeballs like, I got to go and act like a baby here and do this. Or we show up at a class trip, right? We've done that, and the group leader just doesn't, they don't have it figured out. You guys are 7th and 8th graders. You're not kindergartners and first graders. All right, little kids, now let's all get in a line. And okay, you guys know how to. So you kind of, here we go. We got to deal with this. That is probably the same sense that Jehoash is feeling at this point. God, who's this God? I just want to win. This is childish. How is shooting some arrows or striking the ground with some arrows going to... 1, 2, 3. All right, I did it, Elisha. He doesn't have trust and faith in God that God will use this picture, this lesson with Elisha, to deliver Israel from Syria. So he kind of half-heartedly does it because he just doesn't trust or believe in God. That is why I would say he's probably only shot 3 times. He just lacks the true faith. And he thinks it's ridiculous that this is not how you defeat the enemy. You defeat the enemy by having a large army. He probably came here hoping Elisha would give him 1,000,000 men and make 1,000 chariots suddenly appear and tell God to give us weapons and 500 more horsemen. But that's not what it was to be. And so after Jehoash only strikes the ground 3 times, Elisha becomes angry with him. If you had done it more, if you had faith and believed, the Lord would have completely destroyed Syria for you and delivered them from you. But now only part of it will be destroyed, and they will continue to be a thorn in your side. And Elisha was very angry. And then we know after that Elisha dies. Verse 20, let's take a look and see what happens there, because it's very interesting here. And Elisha died, and they buried him, and the bands of the Moabites invaded the land in the coming in of the year. And it came to pass, as they were burying a man, that behold, they spied a band of men, and they cast the man into the sepulchres of Elisha. And when the man was let down and touched the bones of Elisha, he revived and stood up on his feet. So let's stop there. So Elisha is dead. He's buried in a sepulcher. A peaceful burial. How long? Well, at the spring of the year, so it's a few months, probably maybe many months later. But anyways, another funeral procession is going by. And as this funeral procession is going by, they become afraid because here comes a raiding band of Moabites. And now what are we going to do with this body? They're probably going to desecrate it. There is a sepulcher. Roll that stone back. Throw the body into the grave. And what happens? The instant that that body touches the bones of Elisha, the man who is dead becomes alive. God gave here that special miracle to this man. A witness of Elisha, just how powerful God was in Elisha's life, that this man comes back to life by touching the bones of Elisha. So did he run out and go tell everyone? We just don't know. How much longer did he live? Not important. But focus on the fact that someone was thrown into the grave of Elisha, and even through the bones of Elisha, God performs a miracle here. All right, but now let's see how God cares for his people. Okay? He is going to give the victory to Jehoash, just only a limited amount. And that's what we see here at the end. Verse 22. But Hazael, king of Syria, oppressed Israel all the days of Jehoahaz. So that's back to the first king. And the Lord was gracious unto them, and had compassion on them, and had respect unto them, because of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and would not destroy them, neither cast he them from his presence as yet. So Hazael, king of Syria, died, and Ben-Hadad his son reigned in his stead. And Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, took again out of the hand of Ben-Hadad, the son of Hazael, the cities, which he had taken out of the hand of Jehoahaz his father by war. 3 times did Joash beat him, and recovered the cities of Israel. So the Lord gives deliverance to the 10 tribes. Because of the bothering nation of Syria, the Lord delivers them. He gives 3 victories to Jehoash over the Syrians. And obviously, that's all he's going to get. So, that's where we would eventually have to pick up here. But the Lord cares for his people. He's made his promise to the covenant line of generations that are still in Israel that he will preserve them. So he will not let Israel come under the complete rule of Syria yet. The Lord needs to call his people. So remember, we had heard during the time of Elijah, there were 7,000 who had not bowed the knee to Baal. There is always a remnant, always God's people, no matter where they are. We're never alone. We think sometimes, we've had different presentations done. We had one earlier this year by Professor Camming about the people in Namibia. They thought they were the only ones on the face of the earth left of God's people. They were probably afraid of that. Are we the only ones? Are we so small? So it was such a breath of fresh air when they found, yes, there are many other people throughout this world that believe and know God, that are God's people. We aren't the only ones left. And so that's of comfort to these people in Israel too. They aren't the only ones. There's godly people in Judah. There's godly people in Samaria and other places. But these men hadn't bowed the knee to Baal. So we will see, we'll keep jumping back and forth here a little bit between the kings of Judah and Israel, and just to kind of see how things are going.